Hello, hello, hello. You're tuned in to Golden Creatives Talk, the podcast where we bring Black, Brown, and Golden creatives together to talk about their creative life. I'm your host, CT Luna, or you can call me Cynthia. And I'm so excited to share about today's powerhouse guest, Melanie Denny, or Melly D. She's a personal branding consultant and creative digital branding strategist. She empowers brilliant women of color who feel unseen and want to leave a legacy in their industry to show up boldly in the full essence of who they are, unapologetically. She shows golden multidimensionals, or Black and Brown women, how to become an industry authority while expanding their reach, reputation, and revenue without sacrificing an ounce of who they are. Hello, Melly. Welcome.
Love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Love your show and what you're doing. And I was so honored to be invited to come on here today. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much, Melly. So tell us about who you are and how you started down this path before we get all geeked out on personal branding.
Yes. Okay. Whew, where do I start? So I grew up in Detroit, but I was born in Barbados. And so I'm an island girl at heart. I and being growing up in, Detroit, coming from Barbados, I had to toughen up real fast, real quick.
Hmm.
And so, but I've always been an outspoken child. So it was just me and five adults living in my house in Barbados. So I got away with murder. I was like a wild child in a sense, but not really, right? My mouth has always been, hey, I'm gonna say what I gotta say.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't have a whole lot of consequences because I could run to someone in the house, my aunt, my mom, my grandma, somebody was gonna save me. And so, I was always like a free spirit at
I
heart.
love it.
And, as I grew up, I got a job at like 14. First job, quit after day two. I was like, "There's no way in hell this is life." Who does it?
Hmm.
People do this like forever, like their whole life. They go to work. I was like, "No." So I knew at a very early age that like working for someone and working a job was not for me.
Hmm.
So I recognized very early that I was an entrepreneur, and so not sure what the hell that meant and what I could do. So fast forward to college, I was always a writer. So in
Hmm.
college, my friend was like, "Hey, can you help me with my resume?" And I was like, "Yeah, let me see. Oh, no, this is trash." So I rewrote it for her. And then I rewrote my own. I rewrote my boyfriend's at the time. I bought a book on resume writing and I was started doing everyone's resumes for free. And one guy was like, "You're really good. Like, you should charge." I was like, "That's not a thing, sir. It's not a thing." I was like, "Wait a minute." And I went to Google, like, is this a thing? Lo and behold, it was a humongous thing. And so I doubled down, I was like, "This is it, this is what we're doing." And so I started charging for resumes. 13 years later, I had built a brand around resume writing. It was to the point where when I got serious about it, I deleted my Facebook and started a fresh Facebook with this new persona. Melanie L. Denny, the resume expert. I wanted my corporate clients, I wanted executive clients to pay me big money. So I was like, they can't see who I really am.
Hmm.
They can see that I'm a party girl, that I'm like, who I am. I party on the weekends. I was like telling my friends, you better not tag me in nothing. I have my brand to protect, my brand. And I went through 13 years of being cosplaying a resume writer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I was not this corporate person in real life, but I started kind of mimicking other resume writers. And mind you, the resume writers I was mimicking were all older white women. And
Hmm.
so I was like, okay, pencil skirts and blazers. Okay, we're gonna speak like this. We're gonna be buttoned up all the time. And yeah, I did that for a long time. It wasn't until I got pregnant with my twins and had postpartum. I was high risk 3 different ways. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't cook dinner without getting out of breath. So I had to like sit on a stool in front of the stove to try to cook dinner. It was a terrible, terrible experience for me. And during that time, I couldn't work either. And mentally, I just couldn't do it. Physically, I couldn't do it.
Mhm.
Mentally, I couldn't do it. And I said, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore, but what else would I do? And I realized then I didn't know who I was anymore.
Right.
I had went so deep into this persona of professional resume writer. I did not know who Mel was outside of that. All of my clothes were business attire. I barely went out for just to go out. Every time I went out, it was for networking, to build the business, to grow. My whole personality was resume writer. And at that time, I was like, who am I? So I had identity crisis for like the first time because prior to that, I knew who I was. I had opinions. I was free, free spirited, do what I want. And over time, slowly, I had lost all of that, not even realizing it. And then I
Mm.
was like, okay, so let me do some self exploration here. Because if it's not this, then what the hell is it? And that was a very unsexy work that I had to do and trying to get back to who I was and also had to mourn who I was because I couldn't be that person anymore because now I have a family.
Right.
Right? So before I could just be up all night just on my laptop ticking away, but now I have a husband, 3 kids, a household. I can't be that person. And I'm no spring chicken no more either. The
Mhm.
energy levels wasn't there. So like, who am I now? What does that look like? And can I accept that Melanie has morphed into this other person? And during that transition, it took me 4 years to from I'm not doing this anymore to actually not doing it anymore. 4 years of just that I don't know what to do. I kind of don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this, but hey, this is where I'm making the money. What else? Like just lost, child. And so it wasn't until I did a conference that I got an honorarium to do a course with the organization, and I ended up doing a personal branding course, and I was like, "Duh, I love this stuff." This is what has kept me going the whole time is that helping people to recognize their value, articulate what makes them different and unique, sell themselves and that thing. That's what I did really well. That's the part I really enjoyed about the work that I did as a
Mhm.
resume writer, and that's something that helped me stand out because not everybody has that skill to pull that out of people, right? And I was
Mhm.
like, I could still do personal branding, but I don't wanna see nothing about no resume. I don't wanna hear nothing about no job because I didn't believe in corporate. I
Mhm.
quit work. I knew corporate was not for me. And
Mhm.
but here I was slinging resumes, telling other people to climb that corporate ladder. So it was a lot of misalignment going on, but I was really, really good at it. So I
Mhm.
kept going because people were paying me big bucks and I made a name for myself and I built my personal brand around that. And so I decided to do personal branding, but I wanted to do it in a different realm. And I wanted to do it around women of color. I wanted to focus on women of color. And so I started like putting it out, women of color, women of color, women of color. But I was, like, pussyfooting with it. Women of
Mhm.
color? Because I was very nervous about like, I see the trolls on social media when it comes to, like, racial stuff, and so
Mhm.
but after that election, baby, I was like, "Black women. Black women. Black women,
Yeah.
period." And so but when I started working with these women, what I was finding was that they also had identity issues. And
Mm.
they were striving so hard to be this person, to show up in a certain way, to be perfect, to fit in, to assimilate, to not, be too much, to just make sure they keep it even keel. And but but they were in their own business. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is not really you can we cuss in here like sailors in this meeting, but you don't want to say hell on your website. Like just let that go and just be who you are because who gonna check you? It's not. You don't have
Mhm.
HR, right? This is you. You're the boss now. So, like, and people wanna know
Show
who
up.
you are. If
Yep.
you're selling a service, they wanna know who you are. So, I saw that firsthand with the clients I was working with, and considering what I went through myself, I was like, this is much needed. Yes, we want to do personal branding, but we want the personal brand to be rooted in who we actually are, not who we were conditioned to be.
Yeah.
And so that's my whole mission right now is to help. So my big vision is what if every black woman woke up every day and decided to show up in the full essence of who she was?
Mm, I love it. I love it. That question is what inspired me to continue with writing and formalizing my writings into a book, which I don't want to talk about today because I want to get every ounce of the melanated experience from you today. So, you said so many things. I started taking notes. So let's talk about you talk about women showing up, or that you're striving to help women show up without sacrificing an ounce of who they are. I think that's the wording you have on your site.
Mhm,
My question for you is, what is that specific ounce that you find most women, particularly women of color, who that they struggle to leave at the door when they enter industry experiences? Like, what is that thing about who they are that you
mhm,
can see that they don't
mhm.
want anybody else to see?
Yeah. I think it's it's hard for me to describe this. It's just the essence of, like, their culture, right? The way that they move at home or with close friends or with family, they strip a lot of that away when they get into certain environments. They lose parts of their personality, they lose their humor, they lose their expressiveness, they lose their just comfortability of being just who they are. And now they come in and they're a little tense. They're constantly self-editing. They're constantly overanalyzing. How should I answer this? Let me watch my tone. So there is the outs could come from all types of different places, right?
Mhm,
And some people, it's their hair. They'll never show their natural hair, right? Some
mhm,
places, I love color, but Imma wear these gray suits every day. And
mhm.
sometimes it's I got jokes, but they're not gonna understand my jokes, so let me just be quiet. Or sometimes it's your joke was not funny, but I'm gonna chuckle because you're the boss. And just
Right.
little subtle things, just to me, they just strip away at our sense of self over time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're doing this day in and day
Yeah.
in and day out, constantly just making sure that we are presenting this version of ourselves that really doesn't exist, that we
Mhm.
created for the purposes of being accepted in these spaces.
Fitting
And
in.
the ounce can come from all different angles. I think a lot of it has to do with survival.
Mhm.
Survival, just being able to survive and, like, keep up appearances so that you don't get rejected from whatever
Yeah.
opportunity it may be, from whatever decision maker you feel like won't accept this part of you. Just like I did. We all do it.
Mhm.
And um for me, I challenge the concept of professionalism. There's a article that I read. Her name is Leah Washburn. Please forgive me if I got the last name off.
Mhm.
But her article was about professionalism as a racial construct.
Mhm.
And it's really breaking down, like, the things that they deem as unprofessional has nothing to do with the job. It's all very, like, personal things, like how we speak, how we dress, using certain verbiage, like, nothing to do with, "Can I do this job well?" And
Right.
so a part of, some of the things that I've written in my podcast, I talk about what professionalism is and should be. Professional should be, can you do the job well? If you look up the word professional, it's someone who is well trained and excellent at the work that they do. So can you do the
Mhm.
job well? Do you keep your word, meaning are you integral? And
Mhm.
do you respect the people you work with? That's it. Anything outside of that is because you're uncomfortable with who I am. And so you
Right.
made up some rules to say, "Oh, this is not how we do it, so you're not professional." So, long answer to your question, but
That's the right answer too. No, no, it's not up to me to say what's the right answer, but thank you for bringing up your podcast. Um, so you just started your answer by saying you challenged the concept of professionalism, and the name of your podcast is the perfect name to convey that message. I'm going to let you say it. I discovered it in a daily newsletter that I get from Podcasting Awards. It's called One Black Podcast a Day. They're on Substack, so find them, subscribe, get their newsletter. That's how I found out about your podcast. So tell us a little bit more about your podcast,
Mhm.
um, and your mission. And I guess it's also maybe you living to your word, right? This is how you're demonstrating the work that you do in personal branding.
Yes. So the podcast name is Code Switch Rebellion.
Ah, I love
Okay.
it. Code
And
Switch Rebellion, y'all. Subscribe.
and I want to make sure that like everyone understands because when we think of code switching, we go straight to like work, corporate. But I'm not gonna hold you. I don't think that I can change that system, right? Like
Mhm,
that is what it is. It's there, it's working well. And so I'm not saying stop code switching at your job and then you get fired and you coming back to Mel and saying, "Oh well, Mel, you told me to show up, at work." You gotta do what you gotta do to survive that environment. If you can, as much as possible, don't try not to conform.
mhm.
But I do understand that there are literally limits and restrictions there, and you will literally get targeted and fired.
Yeah.
I'm saying for my audience, which are service providers, people who have left corporate or have started to leave with the intent of leaving to start a business, you need to stop code switching in your own business.
Mhm,
That's what the podcast is really about. Because what I have seen is that the clients I work with, they have survived corporate for years and they believe that the standards that is upheld there are the
mhm,
standards, period.
mhm.
And that when they build what they're building, it has to be built on those same standards. But those are the same standards that have kept you shrinking for years.
Yeah.
Who
You
gonna check
shrinking
you, boo?
yourself.
You the boss now. Ain't no
Right.
HR saying, "Hey, let me speak to you in your office because what you said was aggressive." no one,
Right.
no one's right. So you get to set the rules, and I want people to recognize that you're not doing yourself a service by mimicking that culture. When you write your
Mhm.
website, you're keeping it very cold and you have barely any pictures, or the one picture you got is your headshot with your arms folded with the blazer. Like, who are you? And I think that the main premise for the podcast is to recognize that you're doing this and recognize you don't have to do it anymore. There's a
Yeah.
different way to show up. And when you show up in that way, code switching in your own business, you're leaving money on the table.
Mhm.
You know why? Because as a service provider, as a consultant, as an author, as a speaker, people are buying you, the person,
Mhm.
and they want to know who you are. especially in this day and age, people want to know who you voted for. People want to know
Yeah.
where were you on January 6th. People want to know your values. People want to know what you're about. People want to know why you're doing this work. And it's important to show them. I'm not saying put all your business on Front Street, but I'm saying tell your story about how you got started. Tell your story about why you do this work. Share stories of overcoming something that you can now help your clients to overcome. People are going to
Mhm.
resonate with that. And that's what's going
Mhm.
to draw your ideal clients in. And that's what's going to have them paying you big money because they're going to see the value in you with your unique experiences. But if you don't tell them that, if you don't share that, if you don't share your personality, they really don't know who you are. And what can they go off to make the decision?
Right.
Price, price, maybe the services, but they're now comparing services.
Right.
There's not going to be much differentiating factors in a service. The
Right.
differentiating factor is you. So put you in your business. Put yourself on the page. Talk about yourself. Talk about your story. Like infuse as much as you as possible into your website. When I first started transitioning, the name of my resume business was Resume Evolution, right? And when I started, it was always meant to be a pun, like resume evolution. So when I was switching, I was like, oh, bet we just go take them accents off and we're going to say Resume Evolution. I kept the same name, the same branding, the same muted purple, the same tan, the same blue. And I just changed the words. And I kept looking at it. I was like, this is so not me. It's still muted and it doesn't align with what I'm preaching. I need
Mhm.
to change this up. And that's when I changed it over to Melanated. I just got rid of the whole resume, resume, whatever evolution. That's gone. That's dead.
Mhm.
And Melanated is really rooted in Melly, in me,
Yeah.
and it's bright and it's colorful because I need to be the example for my clients. I need them to see that you can be who you are, you can cuss on your site, you can wear the bright colors, you could infuse your personality and still be successful. So,
So I love how you're like answering my next question because now we can go off script. Let's go to your brand, your brand colors, your brand choices. And the reason why I'm asking this question, so just so that you have a little bit of context, I mean, you're talking about some serious existential soul searching, right? And you're basically asking your clients are probably coming to you at a point where they're like, okay, I have left my job of 15 years and I've decided to go solo, so let's get a brand, let's make it quick because I need to start, bringing it in, right? But that kind of soul searching isn't, an overnight experience. So, and you had kind of alluded to that. So, I guess I want to hear a little bit more about that journey of the soul searching
mm,
that has now resulted in the website
mm,
melanated.com. And why the vibe and how it is that you've really infused that space with you. Because I feel like I've gotten to know you.
yay, yeah. Um, just a lot. Just going back to my roots, I read a book that helped, and I remember being in the closet reading that book and boohoo crying. Mind you, I'm not a crier. Okay, so if I ever cry, like it's I was moved. The
Mhm.
book was by Audra Richmond. It's called Unclone Life, and basically her book is talking about being who you are, being uncloned, meaning don't be like anyone else, be you. And then there were some questions and prompts and things that made me cry because it was like, "What do you like to do?" Shit, I don't even know. I
Mhm.
used to know, but what's fun? What's fun? I don't know. I'm just trying to get money in my business. So like having to go all the way back and, also thinking about what I used to enjoy as a child, what I excelled in at school. Like those parts of you don't really go away. Like you know,
Mhm.
because as a child, you're not as influenced by the world. You still have your inner, like,
Identity.
correct. You still have your identity. And so, for anyone listening, like, if you need to really figure out who you are again, go back to childhood. What could you spend hours doing as a child? So for me, I was writing. I used to be
Mhm.
writing little novels, little poems, wrote songs. And so the writing piece has always been there. Hence, so now I'm like, oh, let me get on Substack and write because I was writing resumes, but that was a very specific type of writing and didn't allow
Mhm.
for my creativity. So there's just different things like that. And then, like, okay, I was talking to one of my colleagues, and she was like, I want to see more of your island side in your branding because the fact that you're from Barbados is like kind of unique. You know, it's not
Mhm.
many well-known, Bajans in the States or whatnot, and Rihanna, of course, but, like, put that in there. I was like, "Oh, I never even thought to put that because I was like, "Why is that relevant?" That doesn't have anything to do with it, but it's you,
Mhm.
right? No one else has your story. No one else can say they were born in Barbados, grew up in Detroit, moved to Florida for school, started a resume business, and, like, no one has that story, and so a lot of things that I do is rooted in my Caribbean upbringing, my Caribbean
Yeah.
culture. So, like, put it in there. And some people can pick up on an accent. I don't know why. But, like, I have a lot of Caribbean influence. Right. So I'm from Barbados. My mom is Guyanese. My stepdad is from Trinidad. I have cousins in Antigua. So, like, I'm all up in the Caribbean. I'm a Caribbean girl. Like, I need to be barefoot. I would rather be barefoot, and one of the things is, like, in corporate, I used to walk around the office barefoot, and my VP used to be like, "Can you put shoes on, please?" I was like, "Oh, let me go get my shoes, sorry." Coming to the little meetings and barefoot, like, like, "Oh, sorry." That's just like, I feel like shoes constrict me. I don't like them that very much. But, like, little things like that is a part of who I am, and when you get on a
Mhm.
call with me, that's what I'm bringing to the call.
Right.
So you might as well get mail from Jump on the website. Because what I'm not trying to do is catfish folk. Like, I'm this button up professional person who speaks this way
Mm.
and it has no personality and like Grace. And I pop up to the call with sequins and big earrings and speaking
Mhm.
slang and throwing out a couple of profanity. Get that from Jump so you know what you're getting
Right.
into so that people know resonate with you. Because again, you're selling the experience of you. And so for me, I needed that to come off the page, and I also wanted to be the example for my clients to see, "Oh, look at her website. It's very colorful." And people say it all the time, like, "Oh my god, look at your site. It's so different, so bright, it's so much, it's so colorful." Yeah, because I want you to see big and bold. I'm saying show up in with bold authenticity. I'm not gonna
Mm.
put a subtle blue and say, "Yeah, we're representing, the flag color of Barbados." Blue. The whole page is a blue, you know? So, that's kind of, how I started getting into it, and then what I realized too, when I was, like, I don't know, 10 or 11, my aunt brought me a keychain with my name on it, and then, keychains have, like, the meaning of your name, and so my keychain said "Dark Lady," and I was like, "What the hell is this? I don't get it." I just okay, whatever. That thing didn't click until maybe 3, 4 years ago as a grown 40-year-old somebody. It
Mhm.
just clicked that my name, Melanie, is derived from melanated.
Mhm.
I did not put that together my whole entire life. And so when I was coming up with the new name, I was like, "Ugh, it needs to be melanated, something like," but I'm like, "Do you think people are gonna get it? Like, that's my name. My name is a part of melanated, Melanie." And my husband was like, that's been done. That's overdone." And he was like, "Give me a second." And he thought about it. He was like, "I got it." Melanated because my close people call me Melly.
Uh-huh.
I was like, "Oh,
This is it.
perfect." So, yeah.
There are so many directions, but I'm gonna kind of go in one direction, and then we're gonna head into another direction, but it's
Okay.
all related to you.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you're talking about is personal branding, meaning, exploring yourself, understanding who you are so that you can show up authentically. Then there's the other side, which is knowing who it is that you're showing up authentically for. It's clear I have a day job, so it's clear who I'm showing up on a daily basis for. And let's just say that community prefers when I code switch. And I
Mm,
prefer when I code switch so I can keep the job.
mm,
But now, I guess the question that I'm going to ask you has to do with understanding your audience and understanding your audience down to the detail. Like, in a way, as part of your personal branding journey, you also kind of have to create like a brand identity um, for your perfect client. And so I guess I would like to talk to you a little bit about that, and ask you specifically uh, about your take on niching down,
mm,
because it's a very hard thing to ask somebody who's, starting up a business to get hyper focused on a very specific persona that they want to present themselves to.
mhm. This is a good one. Good question. So, what I like to do, excuse me, is like you said, I get really deep. We get really deep on your target audience persona, right? Just went through this the other day with a new client, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't know we are gonna go this deep." Yeah, good dig deep. Surface won't suffice. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
what I do is, yes, we talk about demographics, right? Is it a cultural? Is it business owners in a certain sector? Is it do they live in the states? Like demographics, and then we get into psychographics, and
Mm-hmm.
the five things that we definitely need to know and understand about your target audience is what do they believe, their beliefs around whatever you offer. So, for example, if you're a tax person, what are your clients' belief around money and revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
If beliefs, challenges. So, what is keeping them where they're at? Meaning they have this problem that you're going to solve, but what is the challenge as to why they can't solve it on their own or solve it in
Mm-hmm.
some other way? You need to know their goals, right? So this is more surface, like, oh, I want to, build a personal brand for my business and have a
Right.
website up, whatever. So that's going to be based on the service you provide, right? Their goals. But then you're going to know their desires, meaning under the goals, why do they want that thing? What do they really want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they probably want something deeper like freedom or autonomy or some of them those non-tangible things.
Mm-hmm.
And then fear. What are they afraid of? What keeps them up at night? The fear of whatever, probably the opposite of the desire is usually.
Mm-hmm.
So once you know these main core things, now you can speak directly to your people on a
Mm-hmm.
deeper level, right? So you're not just going to say, hey, let's say I'm a productivity strategist. You're overwhelmed. I'm selling my milestone maps. Come get this
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to help you get your projects done. You're going to say, I'm going to help you get like deal with the overwhelm and finish your project so you can free up your time to spend your time doing the things you really want to do versus this to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
So you're speaking to the underlying thing. They want the freedom to do what they want to do versus being bogged down by this to-do list. So you got to get into the psychological pieces for your potential clients so that you can call them in. Right. So for me, when I say if someone's talking and they say, "Oh, black women," I'm perk, black women. That's me. What's going on? Right? You're
Right.
going to perk up. So it's important to niche to the point where your people can raise their hand and say, that is me. If you're keeping it broad and you're saying business owners, so okay, yeah, I'm a business owner. She talking what kind of business owner? I don't know if that's for me for real, but
Mhm.
right. And so the more specific you can get, the better. Now, a lot of people believe that if you do this and you get too niche, now you're in this box and you're isolating people and no, if they're not this, then they're not gonna come to you. You're going to get variants of that person. So for me and my clients, we give our people names.
Mhm.
This person have a dog? Does she have a family? Does she have kids? Like we get really deep. So my client's name is Naya. That's my persona. And so anytime I'm doing something, I say, would Naya care about this? Would Naya want to hear about this? Maybe not. Maybe won't. We won't do that today. Right. So that keeps you clear and it keeps your people like following you. And
Right.
it's not to say you can't have multiple things going on. Just recognize that the person you're talking to, you want them to resonate with everything you're saying as much as possible.
Right.
So if you're saying black women who have a who has a service business, and then you turn around and you're talking about, I don't know, golf, what the hell they got to do with me trying to grow
Mhm.
my business,
Mhm.
right? Now, there are creative ways to tie things together so that there's a message in what you're saying. So it could be about lifestyle that ties back to whatever service you provide and things like that. But that gets really nitty gritty and like we got to sit down with strategy around that. But overall, to answer your question, the better you can get specific, the more your clients are going to self-select and want to learn more and engage.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you said that because I've been seeing some people posting on Substack notes things like, everybody's saying I need to niche down, but I'm interested in all these things. And, it's like astrology and, cultivating beer and it's like things
Mm,
from all corners of anybody's interest, which is cool. But unless you can sort of connect that
right.
and identify people who are also equally interested in
Yeah.
all of these
Both.
disparate
Mhm.
things, you're going to have a hard time connecting with anyone, unless, of course, you just focus on the astrologers in the room or the beer drinking astrologers, right? Like, um,
Play.
however, I'm going to kind of segue into another piece of this topic of niching down, understanding persona, and also part of this um, journey of knowing yourself and finding out who I am, because that is at the I would say the beginning stages of having your own business and being an entrepreneur. That's like half of the work. You're going to be spending a significant amount of time figuring that out for yourself. And I'm just saying this also as a writer. That's like half of the writing is, you know, what am I really trying to say here? What is where am I headed with this journey? So getting back to this and considering that the audience that you're reaching out to has been in a position of being labeled for all of their lives, being told who they are and how they should show up, and being praised when they come in with the pencil skirts and the grayish attire, and then realizing like, oh, I need to step out and like be who I am. Um, do you find that sometimes your clients feel like, well, if I'm going to niche down my client base, um, aren't I also putting them in a box and othering them in the way that I've worked so hard to unother myself?
I wouldn't say that. It boils down to just marketing.
Mhm.
So like if I like, let's think like the Stanley Cup thing. They
Oh,
never
mhm,
marketed to women. They marketed to these, blue collar workers, construction folks, whatever. And then
mhm,
that one incident happened on social, and now all of a sudden they got a whole line of pink. Now they're saying, "Oh yes, you guys as well." But that didn't mean they isolated them before. It just means
mhm.
if you want one, you get it, but it's not really meant for you. It wasn't
Right.
get it with you in mind, And so I think it's important to understand, like, yes, we want to focus on one person, but it doesn't mean other people can't come and take part. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Um, it's kind of like when you have so Black people tend to do this. They'll say, "Oh, it's African American this or Association of Black whatever," and you there, but they won't say no whites allowed. Like, if you white and you want to come, feel free, but just know it wasn't built for you.
for
So
you.
if you come there and you feel uncomfortable, this not your space.
Right,
And that's okay because there's 8 billion people on the planet. You can find your people.
right.
This is not it. You may not feel comfortable here.
Mhm,
And to me, that's okay. You can't be for everyone.
right.
If you're for everyone, who are you? You ain't nobody. You have
Pretty
to
much.
be who you are, and then your people will come to you, and the people who are not for you will go elsewhere.
Yep, yep, pretty much. I think it's I think it is a hard pill to swallow to think like, yeah, all of these people that I've been performing for, they're actually not my audience. And I had to be very clear about that. Like, I know that nobody that I work with in my organization is interested in my book.
Mm,
Right? There's maybe two people that like I'm actually friends with, because we have shared experiences, and they are the ones who are interested in my book. But if I were to like try to, tell the rest of the folks at my job, they'd be like, "Oh, great job. Where can I find your book? On Amazon? Okay, I'll go buy it." And they're not going to buy it. But and it's okay. Like,
okay.
I didn't write this book for you.
For you.
I actually wrote it first for me and then for my girls, And so they were my target audience, and they continue to be my target audience today when I'm writing newsletters or having these conversations. And they're usually the first people I WhatsApp when I say, "Hey, I got Melly D. Did you know she had this podcast called Code Switch Rebellion? Subscribe to that and then show up for the show." And most of the
Yeah.
time they do, or they show up for the recording, right? So, but it is hard to get used to, um, the change in your, um, expectations when you leave a job and you
Mhm.
enter, because
Yeah.
like you're saying, you're the boss. Once
Mhm.
you're an entrepreneur, it's all you. Like, your performance is for nobody but you.
You. Yeah, because who you doing that for?
And who
Yeah.
are you doing that for, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you want to show up barefoot to your job today, like, who's going to tell you
Who's
no?
gonna check you? But you know what else? As
Except
you were
you.
as you were talking, it reminded me of like when I was building my resume business. Most of my audience was corporate, predominantly white,
Oh,
mostly
really?
men. A lot of my clients were white men, right? Because
Mhm.
I positioned myself as an executive, and you know who's there, right? And
Mhm.
so when I started talking about Black women stuff, it was crickets. Of course, it's crickets.
Uh-huh.
Y'all don't give a damn about the Black woman experience and what we got going on with branding. So
Mhm.
I'm in the process still now of like building my audience and making sure that I am talking to the right people because like you said, when you show up, you have to understand, read the room, like who are you talking to? And your people are going to resonate, but the people that are not for you will not. And it's going
Right.
to be hard at first because you got to weed through all the noise and get to the message and get to your people So it
Mhm.
will be like no one cares. People care, they just haven't found you yet. So
Right.
keep going, keep with your message, refine your audience, make sure you're speaking to the right person, show up in the right places, in the right rooms, virtually and in person, and make sure that you know who that is. You know who your
Yeah.
Naya is and know where she
Yeah.
hangs out. Because one of the questions is, where does she hang out online? Where does she hang out offline? So now
Right.
you can put yourself in those rooms. Oh, she does conferences for industry. Go there and try to speak. Go there as an attendee and mingle. So yeah.
I love that. Actually, I'm getting some tips too.
Hey.
There was something that you were saying earlier, and now I can't remember exactly what it was. Oh, um, it was to my earlier question about like the ounce of what they're sacrificing. And you were saying that it was the essence of their culture, and I wrote their vibe. And then next to it, I wrote Bad Bunny. And the
Mm,
reason why is because of the Bad Bunny halftime show. And I reconnected with a longtime friend that I hadn't been in touch with for a few years. And both of us, we literally went wild over that halftime show because of the way that he showed up for all of us. And when I say all of us, I'm talking about Black and brown men and women, but especially from the Caribbean. And so I guess I just wanted to kind of lean into that just a little bit more because you were talking about making sure that you represent the Caribbean aspect of how you show up and how that is, and this is part of my question, how that is kind of like, a chiseling out of your persona and your personal branding and how you feel that has served you on this journey.
mm. That's a good question. By the way, I didn't understand not one lick of what he was saying, but I was
Oh,
like,
I
this was
didn't
a
either.
great performance.
No
Like,
hablo
right?
español, but I was
But
like,
but I was like, okay, I see. Oh, I see. Oh, right. And I think it's because I represent who he was speaking to, it still
hmm
resonated. So it's
yeah,
not even just about the words, right? That's why the visuals matter,
hmm
the nonverbal cues and communicating without speaking, it
hmm
matters. Um, I think that it just adds to my essence. I don't know if I could say because I mean, I guess on socials, they mention like, "Oh, I'm an island girl too," type of thing, but only when I mention it, or someone will see the website and say, "Oh, I love you got some palm trees and stuff there, whatever." But other than that, I don't know that I could say like it has done anything specific to help the brand. It just, I think, is another layer of, "Ooh, I resonate. Ooh, I'm attracted to this. Ooh, this is unique. Ooh, this is different. Ooh, who is Mel?" Like, it's intriguing a little bit and like, "Who is this person? What's she doing? Hmm?" But,
hmm
again, it's just all a part of some people resonate with the words on my site. They're like, "Oh,
hmm
you got so much personality." And some people just like, "Oh, it's so beautiful," with, like, just the
hmm
color. So I think all of it together just plays a part, and it I try to allow that stuff to represent me
hmm
without me being there as much as
Right.
possible. And so
Right.
that way I show up to a call and they know who I am, or they get a feel for who I am, and it's never like, "Oh, you're not what I expected." It's like, you already knew what it was gonna be. So I think that's the main thing when it comes to
Yeah.
incorporating that type of stuff.
You had mentioned earlier about authenticity, and actually, it was also part of your um, sort of your, what did you call it? The challenging of the concept of professionalism, that the challenge is showing up in your complete authenticity, and you use the word integral. And that really resonated with me. And I love the way that you mentioned the nonverbal cues which exist on your website, that they have to be in resonance with the verbal cues, the words that you have on your website, the words that you exchange on your podcast, Code Switch Rebellion, the words that you write, as well as how you show up when you speak those words. And even though, I don't go around telling everybody that I meet, well, I was born in Trinidad, but my mother's Swiss, and there's all of this, world hopping going on. Now, when I think about my audience and the people who resonate with my work, it turns out that they all happen to be, you know, multicultural, some kind of background. Most of them are Caribbean right? And they grew up in the US, right? So it's like there's
Yes.
actually so much more alignment there than I would have believed had I not
Mm,
kind of started to go down a very specific path.
fancy that.
Fancy that. Yeah,
This is
you're saying that even with like sarcasm, like,
yeah.
duh, that's what I've been trying to tell you.
That I'm very sarcastic. I know that about me. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. But yes, that's just how it works, girl. That's what it is. And that's what I
Yeah,
mean. Your vibe is gonna attract your tribe. Those are some true words right there. And
yeah.
going back to what you're talking about in terms of authenticity, right? So I have my own definition of authenticity where to
Mm,
me it just means knowing who you are and staying true to that.
mhm.
And it's a big part of it is integrity. So when you're out of alignment with your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions.
Hello?
Oh,
Oh, you're back. You
okay.
said your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions.
Yes, all of those things, your values, they all need to be in alignment. When any of those are out of alignment, you're not being authentic.
Right. I almost want you to say that again.
Okay, I'll say it.
Mhm.
Almost.
Yeah, no, actually say it again because I see it happening all the time in the workplace.
Mhm.
I see my own authenticity or me challenging my own authenticity in the workplace
Yeah.
where I have to make a conscious decision like, do I know that I have code switched my way out of my authentic
Yeah.
beliefs or
So
value systems?
so here's an interesting thought too when it comes to that. Some people believe in code switching. They're like, "Oh
Mhm,
no, this is what we're doing," right? And to me, that's them being authentic because it's not
mhm,
out of alignment with their beliefs,
mhm.
right? They know I'm finna get further along if I go ahead and do what I gotta do. And so to me, they're being true to who they are and their beliefs around right their belief system and their values. If they value climbing this ladder and this is what you got to do to get it done, then you're in alignment with yourself and you're being
Right.
integral to you and what you believe. It's when you know this is some bullshit. I hate it here. I have to put on this act, and you feel like it's a doing a detriment to yourself. You're
Mhm.
acting out of alignment, and you're not being true to who you are,
Right.
aka inauthentic. So to repeat, if your thoughts, your values, your actions, your beliefs are not in alignment, you're not being authentic.
Yeah. Thank you. We are approaching the top of the hour, but I would love it if you could share with our listeners how they can get in touch with you, when they should get in touch with you, where they should get in touch with you, especially if they're contemplating the personal brand concept, if they're starting to step out. I think you had mentioned that some of your clients are not quite out of their day jobs, but they are making that move or they're ready to make that transition.
Yes, yes. So, if you're interested in working with me to develop that personal brand, I do personal brand development. So basically, identity work. That's what it boils down to. Helping you figure out and get clear on who you are and how you want to show up, what you want to be known for. Really like listing out your values, your mission, like all of those things that are deeper than just like, oh,
Mhm.
what are your colors? What fonts you want to use? That's cool. We'll get there in a minute because those things only represent the deeper things, right? And
Right.
so, if you want to start that work, then book a digital brand audit on my website, mellynative.com/audit. That's the first step because that's where, first of all, we see where you're at, what you got going on existing, and then comparing it to where you want to be and like how you really want to show up, who you want to target, and that type of thing. And then it will decide what you need. Most people, I would probably say 100% of people, they need to start with the brand voice blueprint, which is the document I produce to really spell out and identify this is your personal brand. And
Mm.
then if you want to get more into that work, I'm developing a workbook, self journey. Self is an acronym for the process of like doing the inner work and figuring out what's going on in there.
Mhm.
I would say subscribe to the podcast for that because I'm gonna roll it out over there. Because the podcast is more of the like deeper thinking of like all these concepts, but then the personal branding work is like ready to take action. So if you're not quite
Okay.
ready to take action and you need to still kind of dive deeper into that sense of self, etc., then I would say tune into the Code Switch Rebellion podcast. Listen out for when I roll out the workbook. If you're ready to like bust a move and build the brand, then get the audit on the website, mellynative.com/audit.
Excellent. And just out of curiosity, so the Code Switch Rebellion is your Substack publication, correct?
Yes. So the podcast is, of course, on the Googles and the Spotify's. I also have the video version on YouTube. And then for Substack, I like to write about the episode. So each
Oh,
week I
awesome.
I write something just, off the cuff, just writing my thoughts on that topic, things that I probably didn't say on the mic and a little bit deeper into things, probably more storytelling, etc. That's on the Substack. And on the upgraded paid Substack, we meet every week to unpack that episode.
I love it. Uh, Melanie, Melly, I'm so glad that you joined the show today. I have learned so much, and you're just a delight to talk to. And it's kind of liberating to think about personal branding. So
I
thank
love
you
that.
so much. Yeah,
I
and I can't wait to find out more about this framework that you're working on. So I will be tuning in to the Code Switch Rebellion
yeah.
and to find out a little bit more. So thank you so much, Melly, for joining us today. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. I'll be sharing this recording for a limited time, and then we'll see you next week for our next Golden Creatives Talk. I forgot the name of the show. For our next Golden Creatives Talk, where we're also going to speak to a wonderful Golden Creative who will help us with budgeting.
I need to tune into that one. Numbers are not
Yeah,
my
me
thing.
too. All right, folks. Have a great day. Ciao for now.